Okay, so before starting, can I please everyone tell me the properties of dictionary that we have? So either you can reply in the chat box or you can just say verbally. Both will be okay. So you just keep on saying, I will just keep on writing here. So yes, one by one.
Keys have to be unique.
Okay. Key should be unique. Okay, next.
It stores only key value pairs, and I think it's immutable as well.
Yes, so keys are immutable. That's the very important part. Keys are immutable. And what about the values? Values are mutable. Values are mutable. Then key should be unique, so key cannot be separated. And we have the other properties of how dictionary looks like. For example, it is a collection of key value pair. Then key value pair is called as an item. Okay, so a dictionary is a sequence data type or it's a not sequence data type?
Sequence.
So dictionary is a sequence data type. Sequence data type. Okay, so when I say sequence, okay, so dictionary is not actually, it's a sequence data type. So dictionary is not a sequence data type. So whenever I say it's not a sequence data type, so which are operations are not supported?
Indexing.
Okay, indexing. Then
Slicing, concatenation.
slicing, concatenation,
Reversal. Reversing.
See, when slicing is not there, so we cannot do reverse also. So it is the same part. Okay, so repetition is not. Then if you talk about the membership operator.
Sorry, is it? I'm not sure if it's just for me, but your voice is cracking.
Okay. Now it's stable.
Yeah.
Okay. So membership operators. So membership, can anyone tell me? Yes, the membership operators are applicable, but there is one rule. What is that rule?
Applies to only keys.
Yes, membership operators applies to only keys. Okay, and identity operator is possible or not?
No.
No. So basically you're saying that whenever you store a dictionary, so there's no address for it?
There is address, but it's not using the object usability.
Yeah, but identity operator is not about object usability. Identity operator just tells whether they are equal or not. Got my point? So yeah, so it is applicable or possible, you can say. Okay, and dictionary is mutable or immutable?
Keys are immutable, values are mutable.
No, as a whole. When I talk about dictionary, is mutable and immutable. Dictionary is mutable. So basically, you can add the keys. Whenever you're adding the keys, everything is happening in the original dictionary. So it is mutable. Okay, so these are the important properties that we have. Now, in the last class, okay, so I think this was a topic that we have discussed. So let's move from this part. So let's see how to create a dictionaries. Have you seen this topic? How to create dictionaries? So the first thing is the user input, taking the user input, using dictionary functions. So what was the rule for using dictionary functions? Can anyone tell me? So basically what I'm saying is, if I want to use a dictionary function, so can I give list like this, 1, 2, 3, and it will work? Or there's some rule which I've told to you?
No, we'll have to zip two lists.
Okay, zip to list. Okay. So basically it
The
ha
list
it
of
has
list.
it takes, yes, it takes a sequence of inner sequence. That's the rule. Okay, it takes a sequence of inner sequence. So that's why that's only when you can use dictionary there. And the last one is a zip function that we have. So I think this everyone knows this. Okay. Now, if I want to, so let's move to the next part. If I want to see which all functions were possible with dictionaries, so I will do this and execute it. And when you scroll down, you will see all the different functions of the dictionaries. That is clear, copy, from, keys, get, items, and stuff like that. Let's try to see everything one by one. So we will categorize these into different forms. So first one is methods to add or access the element from the dictionary. So the methods that we have for that is, first one is a get, then we have something called a set default, and then we have something called as update. So these are the three methods that we have, which will help you to do different kinds of operations on the dictionary. And the operation which I'm talking about is adding or accessing the element from a dictionary. So let's try to move to the first part, that is dot get. Now, every function in a dictionary will have two use case scenarios. So the meaning of this get is, if the key is present, it returns the value of the key. So when the key is present, it returns the value of the key, else default. Okay, so let's take us two use case scenarios here, and you have to give me the answer of this. So before that, let me try to build one dictionary. So employee, so let's take employee data. And in the last class, I have told you how to store a employee data, right? So I will do employee one, and this employee one will contain, let's say, name. And let's take a name, that is Afsan. And let's say it contains a age. And age is 24. Okay. And then what I will do is I will store the second employee detail, that is employee 2. And I will copy the same stuff what I've done here. And I will paste here. And let's say this will be Rahul and age is 26. 26. Okay. Now if I do, now you have to give me the answer. Okay. So the first scenario is if key is present. If key is present. So how to use this is very simple. You have to just do employee data. The dictionary you have to use dot get, and inside the brackets, just let's say I'm writing employee 1. Employee 1. So by seeing the definition, guys, if you can see the definition here, if the key is present, it returns the value of the key, else default. Correct? So by seeing the definition, can anyone tell me what will be the output of this?
It will be a dictionary which has name of son and age 24.
Exactly. Okay. So it will return a dictionary. So basically it returns the value, right? So if I'm writing employee 1 here, so when I write employee 1, if you see in the dictionary, you have employee 1 present. So whenever the key is present, it returns the value of it. So this particular dictionary becomes a value of it. So if you execute it, the output will be name of son, age 24. Okay, age of son and 24. Now this is the first use case scenario. The second use case scenario is if key is not present. Let's say if I do employee of 3, so if the key is not present, so a default will be given to you. So everyone, what I want you to guys to do is you just do shift plus tab. Once you do shift plus tab, you will see a default option. So what is the default option is that is given to us?
None.
It is none. So the meaning of this is if a particular key is not present and you are trying to access it, so it will give the output as none. Execute it. So the output will be only shown if you write inside a print statement. Remember this. Otherwise, it will show a blank. So if you write like this and execute it, see the output is none. So this is a basic definition of if the key is present, it returns the value of the key, else it is the default value. And this default value, you can customize your own message. Okay, so we can also customize our own message when key is not present. The meaning of this is if you are writing nothing, then it will take default as none. But if you want to write your own message, let's say instead of none, you want to display, let's say the key is not present. So what you can do is you can write default, and here you can write key is not present. So when you do this, and when the key is not present and execute this, instead of none, it will show key is not present. So in place of the default, you can customize your own message when the key is not present. And this is what you have something called as get method.
Son,
Yes, Sachin, go ahead.
if I write default is equal to key is not present in that argument, then I am getting an error. Default is equal to, if I write default is equal to key is not present.
No, you cannot write default equal to, you have to write like this only, because there's a rule of something called as default key argument, stuff like that. So you have to write only like this.
Okay.
You cannot write like this, default equal. Got my point?
Yes, yes. That we will be studying in functions.
So if I write key is equal to, and if I write default is equal to, execute it. See, it is not allowed. Because get takes no keyword. So there's a rule of keyword arguments which we will learn in the future class. So basically that's why it is not working.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay. So in the chat box, all the 5 students that I have right now, it's clear to everyone how get works and what is a get. All right. The next one that we will see is set default. Set default, and let's try to understand it. Insert the key with the value of the default if key is not present, else return the value of the key. Else return the value of the key. Now I will repeat the sentence again. So if the key is not present, so what will happen is it will insert a key with the value of the default. See the difference between the get and the set default, okay? If the key is present, both the answer of get and set default will be same. It will return the value. But if the key is not present, get will give you the error message of what you have given, whereas set default will insert that into the key. Let's try to understand that. For example, let's say, again, we have a same set of this. I will take the same example. Now, let's say if I'm doing employee data dot set default, and if I'm doing employee one, so what will be the output of this? By seeing the definition, can anyone tell me the output of this?
Same as previous dictionary.
Yes, so it will give you the dictionary. So if you execute it, there is no difference between a set and a default in this way. So you will get the dictionary. In the get also you get the dictionary. So everything is same till here. But let's talk about second scenario. If the key is not present, now see this, what happens? If the key is not present, execute it, the output is none, but the copy, paste, execute it, see. But if you see the employee data, and execute it, the third key which you have searched for got added as a default value. Now, why this is none? Because if you do shift plus tab, the default is none. So that's why the key gets added in the dictionary by none. This is the difference between a set default and a get. On the similar way, you can customize a message. For example, instead of writing none, you can just say new key or whatever message you can give depending on the use case you're trying to solve, but execute it. Now, if I execute this, see. Oh, sorry. Copy again and paste here. Execute it. Here also execute it. Okay, it is not setting. Why? Okay. Actually, it should work. Okay, let's see. Let's debug this. Okay,
Because
so
I think you have already set default employee 3, so it already took none. Is the
yes,
value.
exactly.
So it is already returning none only.
Yes. So what is happening is in this particular section only we have the value, right? So when we have the value, so then this first condition becomes true, right? And so that's how to show it, I will do employee 4 and execute it. See, employee 4 is the new key. So this is what a difference between a set default and a get is. So this is the second method that we have. And this is how it differs from each another. Now, the third method that we have is update. Okay, the third method that we have is a update. So update is very similar to extend in a list. So it is similar to extend in the list. So basically this helps to join the two dictionary. For example, let's say this is the employee data I have. This is the employee data I have, and I have one more employee data, let's say employee data 2. And this is employee data 3, and this is employee data 4. Okay. And if you want to add this employee data inside this dictionary, so what you can do is you can just do employee data dot update, and inside this you can just write employee data 2 and execute it. Once you do this, so just like an extend in a list, if you just do this, see, everything got appended. Everything got appended. So basically update is nothing but you are merging the two dictionaries into one. So you have dictionary 1, you have dictionary 2, and you are merging into it. So this is what you called as update. And this is what you called as, these are the different functions or method to add or access the element from the dictionaries. So all the three methods are clear to everyone. Any doubts, please ask. All right, no doubts. Then methods to delete the items from the dictionaries. So we will now, in the previous section we have seen how to add or how to access. Now in this section we will see all the methods which are there to delete the item from the dictionary. So the first one that we have is a pop, and the second one that we have is a pop item. Let's try to understand the difference between the two. So the first one that I will talk about is a pop. And the meaning of pop is removes the specified key it removes the specified key and returns the corresponding value If key is not present, it returns default if given, otherwise it raises an error. Okay, now when you do a pop, so it removes the element, this everyone knows, but the important point to note here is that every time you have a two use case scenarios, right? What if the key is present, what if the key is not present? Okay, so removes the specified key and returns the corresponding value. So when you're popping the element and if the key is present, so it will remove that element and it will give the corresponding value to you. That's the first scenario. Second scenario is if key is not present, then if the key is not present, it returns the default. But the thing here is that if given, so by default will not work. So you have to give the default to work. If you're not giving the default, then it raises an error. Let's try to understand this. Let's say, let's say, okay. So again, I'm taking this as a dictionary. Suppose this is the employee data I have. Okay. Now let's suppose I want to remove the. So basically here also you have two use case scenarios. The first one is that key is there, and the second one is key is not there. Let's say suppose key is there. So if I do employee data dot pop, and inside this I will write employee 2. What will be the output of this?
Dictionary with name Rahul and age 26.
Yes. So name Rahul and age 26 will be the output of this. Okay. But what is happening behind the scene? The second thing also that is happening.
Then
So
employee 2 is removed.
what I will do is if I want to see the element now, so which element will be removed? Which of the element will be removed from the list from the dictionary?
Employee 2 and its corresponding value.
That 2 will be removed. Okay. So this function, if I execute it, see, name Rahul, age 26. The meaning of this is that this value has been removed with the help with the key also. So if I see employee data, you have only employee 1 here. You have only employee 1 here. That is the first use case scenario. Now, the second use case scenario is if key is not present. If key is not present, let's say if I Control C and Control V. If I do employee 2 now in the first step, the employee has been removed. Now in the second set, if I do employee 2, by seeing the definition what I've given to you, what do you think the answer will be?
Error.
The output will be error because see, if you do shift plus tab, can you see any default value for D that is given by Python to you?
No.
Right. So the default is not given. So if it is not given, it will throw an error. So if I execute this, it throws an error of key error that employee 2 is not present. But if you want to handle this kind of situation, then what you can do is you can give the default values. So what you can do is you can give here, let's say a comma, and you can give here, let's say key is not present. So instead of throwing an error, what it will do is it will try to handle it. So it will show you key is, so see, key is not present. So this is a meaning of a pop. So if the element is there, it will the output will be the value of the element and the element will be removed. But if the key is not present, if the default is given, then it will handle it. If the default is not given, it will raise an error of key error. And this is how pop works. This is how pop works. So anyone has a doubt, please ask. All right, no doubts. Great. So the next part that we'll move to, is something called as pop item. So pop item is very, very basic, very, very simple. So removes and return tuple of key value pair from the last. So in the pop item, we don't have any option of deleting a particular key. By default, let's say strictly, it will just remove the element from the end. So we don't have any authority to change this order, guys. So pop item, whatever it be, let's say, for example, okay, let's have this. So whenever you do pop item, so basically, let's say if I do like this, if I do employee data dot pop item, so there is no parameter that is allowed in the pop item. So if you do shift plus tab, you can see if I scroll down, there is no parameter that is allowed, and it removes and return a key value pair of two tuples. So the output of this will be, it will by default remove the last one, but the output that it will give to you will be a tuple, where the first value of a tuple is the key and the second value is the corresponding value. And second value is the corresponding value. And this is what you mean by pop items. In pop, we have authority to remove a particular key, but in a pop item, it removes it from the end by default. So these are the two methods that we have for dictionary, guys. So in the chat box, these two methods of deleting is clear to everyone. Okay. So now we will start with the second part. So if you want to check that how to get all the values from a dictionary, so what you have to do is, let's say we have a dictionary like this. And if I want to extract all the items or values from a dictionary, so what you have to do is you have to just type employee data dot values and execute it. So once you do that, you will see that all the values of a dictionary will be executed and it will show you as this particular output. So this is a list of values. So this is value 1, this is value 2. So if you write dot values, so it will return all the values in the form of a list. And this data type, what you can see is a dictionary values. Okay, this is not a list, but this is iterable object. So you can use this with a for loop or a while loop, but this is not a list. This is the own data type that is given by the dictionaries. On the same lines, if you want to check all the items, values is just a value, but if you want to see both key and the value, you can just do items here, and it will give both the key value pair. The only difference will be that this will be a tuple where the first element is the key and the second element is the value. Similarly, for the second part of the list, the first value is the key and the second value is the value. So
Son, are these lists? Because I am doing indexing operator, so there it is not working.
No, it will not work because this is its own data type that is given by the dictionaries.
Which data
Okay.
type?
So this is the own data type that is given by the dictionary. This is not a
Okay.
list. So if you notice, this list is inside some data type, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So this is its own list. So basically the indexing and the slicing or whatever you have studied about the list, nothing will happen here because this is the own data type that we have. Clear? Clear? So if you want to access it, you can use a for loop and you can access it because this is an iterable object. Okay, clear?
For I in employee
Yes, for
associated
I,
with values.
yes, exactly. So it is this everything will be extracted one by one. So yeah. So dot values will give you all the values. Dot items will give you the key value pair in the form of a tuple. And if you want to extract only the keys, so you have employee data dot keys as an option and execute it. So employee one and employee two. So these are the different types that we have. Yes, by this you cannot do it, but yes, what Bhargav is saying is you can change into list and you can do it. So you have to go other way around, but yes, you can do it, but directly you cannot do it because this is not a list. This is a part of a dictionary object type only. Okay, so then we have something called as from keys. So this is the next method that we have, and from keys. So from keys is very easy, but I have never used it in my life. Okay, but we have a function, so having a knowledge is always good. So that's why I'm teaching you. So create a new dictionary with the keys from the iterables and values set to default. The meaning of this is, let's say you want to create a dictionary. Okay, you want to create a quick dictionary. So what you can do is, instead of writing and wasting your time, what you can do is you can do dict dot from keys, and inside this you can just part, let's say the keys. So employee one, employee two. Okay, you can pass employee one and you can pass employee two. So what will happen in this is that before that, let's see the default value. The value that we have by default is none. So it will create a dictionary of employee one and employee two with the value of none, with the value of none. So none will be here also and none will be here also. So if you wanted to change the value, for example, if you want for employee one, it will be something else. For employee two, it will be something else. So by from keys, you cannot do that. All the values will be equal, guys. Okay, so and you can change the value also. Let's say if I write the value, let's say as hello, and execute it. So see, all the values will be hello. And this is what you mean by from keys method. You give the key, you give the keys and it will create a dictionary with those keys, but the value will be the value that is given by default. And for all the keys, the value will be same. You cannot change the value of the different keys when you use from keys. And the last one that is remaining is employee data dot clear. Can anyone guess what this will do by the function name only?
Clear all key value pairs.
Yes, so it will clear all the key values. If you execute it, and if you try to print employee data and execute it, see, it's an empty dictionary. It's an empty dictionary. And these are the different methods we have in a dictionary data types. So before moving forward, particular thing is clear to each one of you. All the methods are clear to each one of you.
Does clear return anything?
Does clear return anything? So it will return none by default. So if you write this employed data.clear in a print statement, so by default it will return none. So yes, that's the only thing. So see, if I write print this, it will return none. And guys, this is where your dictionary data type ends. So if anyone has a doubt, anyone wants to ask something, please go ahead and ask. Otherwise, I will move to the next part of it. All right. No questions, no queries. So we'll move to the next part. And the next part is dictionary comprehension. Just like we have the list comprehension, we have something called as dictionary comprehension also. The only difference between the list and the dictionary is whatever I have told you. So basically, first the bracket will be changed. This is a dictionary, right? So bracket will be curly bracket. Then a loop. So let's say for I in range, let's say 10. Now, the only difference is dictionary is a key value pair, right? So on the left hand side, you cannot write simply I. You have to write in a form of key value pair separated by colon. So you can write something like this, I colon I cross I or 2. And now execute it. So what it will do is for I in range 10. So the first value of I will be what? The first value of I will be 0.
0.
So 0 colon 0 raised to 0 into 2. So the answer is 0 colon 0. Then for the next iteration, the value is 1. So 1 colon 1 into 2. So 1 and 2. Similarly, the dictionary keeps on getting created with the new I value that we have. The only difference in a list comprehension and a dictionary comprehension is first of all is the bracket. Second of all, how you write this. So this should always be a key value pair. You cannot write I or you cannot write I into square, I square 2. You have to write in the form of this. And this is what we mean by dictionary comprehension. The next data type that we have is a range data type. This range data type, it is widely used in for loop. Widely used in for loop. And the syntax for the range is that you use a range function, and inside this you have to write the start value, comma, you have to write the stop value, comma, you have to write the step value. And whatever you have studied. So start value is inclusive, stop is exclusive, and step is the step that you always keep on doing. So it's a step size. Okay. Now the default value. So if you're not mentioning the start value, so start values default will be 0. Stop can't be left empty. So basically the meaning of this is you have to give the stop value. Otherwise you only think where the range function will stop. Correct. If you give the start value and if you don't give the stop value. So you only think there is no stopping criteria, right? So that's why stop can't be left empty. So there is no default value for stop. You have to give the stop. Okay. And step default is 1. For the step size, default is 1. Sweet and simple. Let's try to understand this with the help of an example. So range, if I write 1, 6, 2. Can anyone tell me the output of this?
1, 3, 5.
The output will be 1, 3, and 5. So if I execute this, oh, I'm not getting the output. So here's the second part. Whenever you get, so this, understand this as a trick, okay, trick. Whenever you get these kind of answers anywhere for any functions, just wrap this around a list to extract the values. Okay, just wrap this around a list to extract the values, and the answer is 1, 3, and 5. 1, 3, and 5. Let's ask you more questions on this. So let's say if I give 1, 6, and 1, what will be the output of this?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The output will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. If I write, let's say, hmm, 7, what will be the output of this?
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes. So whenever you give as a single value, so the single value is what? The start value, stop value, step value?
Stop.
It is a stop value because the stop can't be left empty. So if you're giving, this is by default, so stop is taking as 7 and start and stop value is taking as a default. So, the start value is 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If I execute this, the output is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is what you called as a range data type. Then we have something called as set data type. So set data type has few properties. So for example, the answer is, so collection of values, but it is not a sequence. So whenever I say it is not a sequence, so what is not possible?
Indexing, slicing.
Indexing and slicing is not possible. Okay. And one more important thing, set is a collection of unique values. So you cannot have a duplication in a set. Okay, you cannot have a duplication in a set. Set is mutable. The meaning of this is you can change the object of a set and cannot contain a list. It cannot contain a list. These are very important points. For example, let's say collection of a unique but it's not a sequence. So let's say if I do A is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if I do A of 0 and execute it, you cannot use that. So indexing and slicing is not supported because this is not a sequence data type. Collection of a unique pair. The meaning of this is, let's say if I write A is equal to 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. If you are repeating the values, it will only give 1, 2, 3. It will only give the one occurrence of each values. So collection of a unique value. This is what you mean by collection of a unique value. It is mutable. It is mutable. So if I do dir of set and execute it, so you will see this, there are different properties we have. See, we have a different properties. So if I write set, not set, if I write, let's say a dot clear and execute it, and if you see A, see the A is getting changed. So that's why this is the option that A is mutable. And it cannot contain a list. So basically, if you are trying to contain a list, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's say if I write, let's say tuple 1, 2, 3, execute it, it is allowed. There is no issue with it. But as soon as you write 1, 2, 3, 4 and execute it, unhashable type list. So you cannot write a mutable object inside this. So if you write like, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, see, you can write set also. So rather than writing and telling that, okay, the list cannot contain a list, it cannot contain a mutable object. I think that will be the correct definition of it. Just for a proof, let's say if I write 2:3, executed, C. Dictionary is also not allowed. So all the properties of set is clear to everyone. See, set is not default widely, okay? So that's why I'm not covering the method of it. You can just do the research and you can just do it. So the only use of set is, let's say you have a list, okay? Let's say you have a list, a 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, and so on, okay? And you want to calculate the unique elements inside this. The unique element inside this. So if you don't know about set, so many of you will be using for loop to find this, right everyone? But if you know the concept of set, the only thing what you have to do is you have to just do set of A. That's it. And it will give the all the unique values. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is where a set is used. So this is how you can play smartly, and this is how you can get the answer in a very quick and efficient way, rather than writing a for loop and wasting your time. So this is what we have set data type, and this ends your all the data types that we have in Python, the important ones. So if anyone has a query, please go ahead and ask your queries. If no queries, write clear in the chat box. So you can type clear, clear, clear in the chat box. All right, guys, great. Now, this is what we were learning was about the basics of Python. So you should know what is a list. You should know what is the difference between a list and a tuple. You know what is, you should know what is a dictionary. What are the use cases that we have for dictionary. Okay, this everything is over. Now from now onwards that we learn, we will try to understand that how to use a conditional statements. How to use a conditional statements. So the first part that we'll go and we'll learn is if and else. So I will not explain it. I will just give you the syntax, and by that, so we will try to use something called as reverse engineering, where I will give you the problems. You have to tell me the answer, and from that we will try to understand what do you mean by conditional statements. So let's say this is statement 1 and this is statement 2. This is statement 3, and then what I'm doing is I'm writing if condition, and I'm writing statement 4. Okay, statement 5. Now how this if condition works. So first we'll talk about if, then we'll go step by step. Now this, if you see, we have statement 1, we have statement 2, we have statement 3, and then we have statement 4 and statement 5. So first of all, can you tell me that statement 4 or 5 is a part of if condition, or it's a part of the main statements? What do you guys think? And supportive answers. Why you say that? See this, my question is that statement 4 and statement 5 is a part of if, or it's a part of normal statement? Yes, go ahead. So yes, in a chat box, if you see, Vina has written that if condition because of indentation. So exactly that is the answer. So statement 4 and statement 5 is a part of if condition because of the indentation. So this statement 4 and statement 5 will only get executed if this condition is true, guys. Otherwise, statement 4 and statement 5 will not be get executed. Okay. So if condition is true, can you tell me how Python will execute these statements one by one? So you just give me the statement number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that. So which statement will be executed first?
1,
1, then
2, 3,
2, 3, then
4, 5.
4 and 5. So if the condition is true, all the statements are getting executed. So if condition is false, then if condition is false, then
1, 2, 3.
it will be only 1, 2, and 3. It will be only 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now let's do one thing. Let's try to make this thing more complicated and let's see whether you have understood it or not. So I will make a little bit complicated by adding this. Statement 6 and statement 7. Now the question remains the same. So I will copy this and paste here. So what I want you guys to do is, I want you guys to give me the answer in the chat box. Okay. So if the condition is true, what will be the execution of the statement? So these numbers you have to give me in the chat box. Now what I will do is, let's try to make it more complicated by using if and else. So if else. Okay. So what I will do is, I will just do a small tweaking here. So copy and paste. Now the only part what I will do is I will add else here. So let's say else. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's try to do this. So this will be statement 6. This will be statement 7. This will be 8. And this will be 9. Okay. Now before doing anything, let's try to understand how if and else works. So this else will be only executed. This else will be only executed if the condition before that is false. And this else will not get executed if this condition is true. Very simple. This else will only work when this condition is false, and this else will not work when this condition is true. Very straightforward. Okay. So again, the same question to you guys. What will be the execution step if the condition is true? Again, I want the answer in the chat box. Okay. So if the condition is true, the execution step will be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and 8 and 9. 8 and 9. Because the else part will not get executed because the condition is true. But in the other case, if the condition is false, it will be 1, 2, 3. Then it will be 6, 7, 8, and 9. 6, 7, 8, and 9. Sorry, 6, 7, yes, 8 and 9. So this is the correct answer for it. So this is how if and else works. Okay. Now let's try to make it more complicated. And now let's see how many of you can do this. So statement 1, now what I'm doing is I am adding multiple if statements, multiple if conditions. So here also 1, here also 1, and here, no, I think this is enough. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This will be 10, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So the question is, if Okay, now here also I have to write condition 1, condition 2, condition 3. So if condition 1 and condition 2 is true, what will be the execution step? Let me explain you and then everyone try this. Okay. Now let's say, now remember what I've said here in the top one, what I've said is this else statement will be only executed if the previous if is not executing. Basically, the previous condition is false. So if I'm writing 3 ifs with one else, so this else will only be dependent on this if, guys. It will not care about this if, it will not care about this if. So whenever you write a multiple if with a single else, so this else is only responsible for the previous if. This else is only it will only check the previous if, what is after that, before that. It has no connection with this. It has no connection with this.
Hello.
Yes, Veena?
Yeah. So you just mentioned condition 1 and 2 is true. So what about condition 3? If
So it's
that
false,
is,
basically. Yes.
huh,
It is
right.
false.
So
Correct.
if it is false, then it will not work, right? It will not enter the loop for statement 8 and 9. So I think
Is
it
right.
should be,
Is right.
yeah, it should be the same answer as previous one.
Okay, I have not seen the previous answer. Okay, sorry.
This one, I've sent it now.
So basically, yeah. So 1, 2, and 3. Then 4 and 5 will be also executed. 6 and 7 will also get executed. Correct, Veena?
Yeah.
Now what we have done is, if this is false, then else will be executed, right? Because this else is dependent on this if, correct?
Oh, correct. Yeah.
That mistake you have made. So 7, and then you have to write 10,
10 and
11, 12, and 13.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, just to make everyone more confident, let me try to ask if condition if all are true, what will be the execution step? Okay, let's try to see. So the answer is very straightforward. So everything will be executed except 10 and 11. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 12 and 13. Okay, great. Copy this. Let's try to make it more complicated. Okay, so I'm just giving you different scenarios that it can come up to. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm doing else statement 13, 14, statement 15. Statement 15. So same question, if I ask you if condition 1 and 2 is true, what will be the execution step here? Okay, perfect. So I think now you guys are understanding that how if and else works. So if condition 1 and 2 is true, so it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, and 12, and 13. If all conditions are false, then if all conditions are false. So if all conditions are false, the statement execution will be 1, 2, 3, 14, 15, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So very straightforward. Okay, so this is how the if works. This is how the if and else works. The only thing that you have to keep in your mind that whenever you write else, so this else will only see the previous if. It doesn't care how many if you have, it will only see the previous if. So this else is only linked with the previous if. If that is clear, then I think this will be also very crystal clear to you guys. And this is what you mean by if and else. The last variation that we have is if, elif, and else. If, elif, and else. So Copy this, paste here. If, and I will remove this part. Elif, else. Now, everyone please pay attention, okay? Because this is a confusion for many of you. Now, how this works? This if else, what you can see here, this condition 2, this elif, as the normal English, you can see that if this condition is false, then only this will get executed. And if this condition is also false, then this will get executed. And if all the conditions are false, then the else will get executed. This is the first way of remembering it. Or you can say that else will be only executed if all the conditions are false. If all the conditions are false. So in the other, let me explain again. So these conditions, so suppose if I want to check this condition will be only checked by the Python if these two conditions are false. In a short and layman's terms, if any condition becomes true, then it will execute it and rest will not be get executed. Okay, let's try to solve it and let's try to understand it much better. If condition 1 and condition 2 is true, what will be the execution statement? And it's okay if you do a mistake. Okay, it's okay. I want you guys to do a mistake. So yes, give me the execution step. Okay, see now how it works. So statement 1, 2 and 3 will be executed. Now condition 1 becomes true. So condition 1 becomes true, so it will be 4 and 5. As soon as the condition 1 becomes true, so these will not be executed. Any of these will not be executed. If any of the condition becomes true, the others will not be executed. Simple and sweet. So 4 and 5, and then directly it will be 12 and 13. Okay. If condition 2 and 3 are true, what will be the execution step here? And the answer is 1, 2, 3. Now this condition became false. So now this condition became false. So Python will look for this next condition now. Okay, so that is how the if and elif works, guys. This elif will only be checked if the previous condition is false. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, then it will be 6 and 7, and then if this condition became true, so next condition will not be get executed. So the output will be 7, 12 and 13. 7, 12 and 13. Okay, last one, if all are false. If all are false, so the output will be 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 12 and 13. Very basic, and it is, I think it's clear to everyone. So till here, what I have taught you is clear to everyone?
Sana, I have one doubt.
Yes, Veena.
So instead of elif, if we had, this is just to clarify the concept, instead of if in the second condition, if we had used, instead of elif, if we had used if, then in case of condition 1 and 2 being true, both these conditions would have, got executed, right?
Yes, yes. So if you are writing multiple if, okay, suppose in place of this also you're writing if. So now this if is independent of this if. Got it? So this will be also executed and this will be also executed. But if once you write elif, so this is dependent on the previous if.
Okay.
Clear?
All right. Yeah.
So if you write if here, so if condition 1 and 2 is true, so this condition will also be executed and this will also be executed. because this has no dependency on the previous one.
Right.
But if you write elif, then it becomes a dependency on the previous one. So this is a difference between the multiple if and writing if and elif. Clear, Veena?
Yeah, clear.
All right. Now this is what I wanted to do. Is basically, I will give you the, so this is how I explain the if and else. So I think it is clear to most of you. So in the chat box, if and elif, if else, and multiple if with else, and if and elif. It's clear to everyone, all the 4 variations. Perfect. So now let's do one thing. Let's take a break for 15 minutes and then we will try to solve some problem on this, the real-time problem, so that whatever we have done with syntax or with just a algorithm, we will do with the coding part also. Now, whatever we have studied now till now, let's try to convert into a programming way. And now you have to give me the answer in the programming way now. Okay. So A is equal to, let's say, 33. B is equal to, if B is more than A, print messy, or else print Virat. So what do you think the answer of this particular code will be?
I have son. If we are writing an if statement, we also need to give an else statement, right?
No, it's not like that. So remember in the first use case, okay, sorry, not here. Where it was, let me show you. See, in the first use case, if I write, see, I will not mention any else here, see.
Okay.
So it's not a rule, it's not a rule. Okay, so you can write a if statement independently also.
All right. So, okay.
So the answer of this will be,
So in this case,
mhm,
if there's no else statement, then both these statements will be printed. So it will be Messi and Virat.
exactly, and that's the output.
Yeah.
Messi and Virat. Okay. Okay. Now let's try to make it a little bit more complicated. A is equal to 33. B is equal to 2. If B more than A, print Messi, else Ronaldo. Print Virat. Okay. Give me the answer of this. So answer of this will be Ronaldo and Virat. Okay, Ronaldo and Virat. Because for the obvious reason, this condition is false. Now, whenever this condition is false, the else part will get executed. This is what we have learned, right? So Ronaldo, and this statement 3 is the normal statement that we have. So Virat will be executed as it is. Okay. What will be the answer of this? If I execute this, the answer will be Ronaldo and Virat. Okay. Now let's do one thing. B is equal to A, and I'm writing 200. Now, what will be the answer of this? Okay, perfect, guys. So the answer is Afsan and Virat. Let's try to give the last this variation. So I think it's clear to everyone. I think. Why not Messi? See, Gurpreet, I have used here elif, right? So this elif will only get executed if the previous statement is false. Okay, so that's the reason of it. I'm not using multiple if, I'm using if and elif. So there's a difference between that. Okay. So B is equal to 100 and C is equal to 700. If A more than B and C is more than A, print hello, else print world. Okay, what will be the answer of this? The answer is hello. Okay, and for those who don't know why the answer is hello, A more than B. So A is more than B, so the answer of this is true. And C is more than A, the answer is true. And when you do true and true, the overall answer is also true. So in short, this condition becomes true. So when this condition is true, this will be executed and this will not be executed. So that's why the answer is hello. That's why the answer is hello. Now the next part that we have in a if condition is a nested if. Nested if is nothing but if inside a if is called as a nested if. So again, I will explain you this with the help of reverse engineering. So we will try to solve a problem to understand how nested if works. So let's say x is equal to 35. If x is more than 15, print Messi. Then if x is more than 25, okay, so what would be the answer of this? So the output will be, let's see, the output is Messi and Ronaldo. Okay, let's try to What will be answer of this? Executed, and the answer is D. And this is how the nested if works, guys. So nested if is very logical if you think. So if inside a if statement, okay, and that if will be executed if of course the main if is executed. Okay, so the logic is very similar here. And this is what you called it as a nested if. All right. Now then, so now guys, this is the end of the nested if. Okay, this is the end of the nested if. This is the end of the if and else. So I will ask you 4 questions now. Which out of these, the 2 you have to give the answer now, and the rest 2 you can just do at a home as a homework. Okay. Now here is the question number 1. Take a user input from numbers 1 to 4 and give the word form of it. The meaning is, if the user gives 1, you have to give the output as 1. If the user gives 2, you have to give the output as 2. If user gives 3, you have to give the output as 3. And if any value is more than 4, you have to, suppose if user gives 5, then you have to give the message, sorry, number not in specified range. So this is the first question. The second question that you have to solve is design a calculator. Design a calculator. So if the user gives plus sign, then you have to add 2 numbers. Okay, so basically you have to take 3 things from the user. So user has to give the number 1, user has to give the number 2, and user has to give the operator. Let's say operator can be plus, minus, division, and multiplication. And based on whatever the operator you have selected, you have to do the respective operations. So this is how you design a calculator. The third part that you have to do is check if string is palindrome or not. Check if the string is palindrome or not. And the fourth one is okay, it's okay. If it's there, then also try to do it. Check if the string is palindrome. Okay, if it is there, then I will just erase this because I think it's already done. Fourth one, or sorry, third one. Write a code to find if a year is a leap year or not. So basically, a user will be writing a number, a year, and you have to tell whether the particular year is a leap year or not. Okay. So what do you mean by leap year? What is a leap year?
So there's a February has 29 days every 4 years. That's a leap year.
Okay. So but you cannot write
In a year, 366 days in a year.
Sorry.
So logic will be like divisible by 4, and then we have to check divisibility by 100, and then 400, like this.
Exactly. Okay. So there are some set of rules that you have to remember when you find out the leap year, because the leap year is not only divided by 4, guys. Okay, remember this. Many of you have a very basic thing that, okay, if a year is divided by 4, it's a leap year. No, that's not a situation actually. There are many more situations that we have to see. And this particular code will be a research work plus coding. So this particular part will be your homework. So what I want you guys to do is, I want you guys to solve the first problem and the second problem. Okay, I want you guys to solve the first problem and the second problem right now in the class. So five minutes for this, 5 minutes for design the calculator, and all the answers should be in my direct message. Okay, guys, your time starts now. So now it is 10:58. At 11:05, I should get the first answer, and at 11:10, I should get the second answer. Quickly solve this. You will get an idea that how to solve a if and else condition statements. Okay, so go ahead, guys. So answer is very straightforward, guys. So if you see the answer, so I'm just copying from a chat and pasting here. If anyone has a doubt, you can ask me. Okay, so Control V. So this is the answer for the first one. So if elif and else executed. If the answer is, let's say, 2, it is 2. If the answer is 4, it's 4. And if the answer is other than that, it will print sorry, the number you entered is not written in the specified range. Okay. And if you see this, if you have only one statement inside of if, you can write the syntax like this also, guys. It is also allowed after Python 3.7. So if you have Python 3.7 and higher version, this syntax is also allowed to use it. So basically what you can do is you can write a single line if statement and else statement. So this is the answer for the first one. And the answer for the second one is, so the answer for the second one is this. Okay, let's say, okay, yeah, so it should be indented. Okay, so this, and this. So execute it. So enter the operand. Okay, so operand is, just a second. Okay, so first enter the operand. Okay, so I will plus. Okay. Operand. Okay, sorry. So its operand is 10 plus. Okay, what is the problem? Okay, 10 plus 20, and you have to add the operators. So plus. So answer is 30. So this is the answer for the second one. And this is how the softwares are built, guys, behind the scene. So any questions in any of these?
Hi Afsan, my this query is not getting executed on Jupyter Notebook. Can I share the screen and probably you can tell me what I'm doing wrong?
Okay, go ahead, share your screen. Let me give you permission for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have permission. Go ahead.
So is my screen visible?
Yes, Bina.
Okay. So I wrote this code, which is similar to the one that you showed right now. But when I try to execute it, I'm not able to get the input this thing. Even if I remove the eval this thing, and if I run this, I'm not able to get the slot to put my input.
Yes, and that is because, can you see a star there after the input in? Can you see in the bracket star?
Yeah.
So basically your kernel is busy. So you have to release your kernel for that. Okay, so to do that, can you see a square box?
This.
After on the right side. Oh yes, executed. Can you see the star sign is gone now? Now executed.
Achha.
Okay, now the problem is that your syntax error. Yeah.
Right. So now if I do it, and now if I put 4, for example. So yeah.
4 is a string.
For,
Here,
input takes a string, right? So you have to
So
convert.
eval.
Yeah.
Okay. No problem.
Okay, now executed.
So now if I put 4, okay, all right, understood.
Okay, so that the problem was your kernel was busy.
Sure. No. So whenever there's a star sign over here, I just have to stop the kernel and then I have to run it again.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. How do I stop my screen now?
I will do that, don't worry. Okay, so now we will start with the next topic, and that is loops in Python. So we have two types of loops in Python. The first one, we have the for loop, which we have already seen, and the second one is a while loop. So let's do a quick revision of a for loop first, and then we'll go with the while loop. So for a for loop, let's say for I in, so first let me write the syntax. So for variable in iterables, and then inside this you can write anything of your choice. So let's say I write statement 1. So before starting, can anyone tell me what you mean by iterables?
A data type on which we can iterate.
Yes. So how to check whether a particular object is iterable or not? I've told you, right? So how to check it?
I think if indexing is allowed on that object.
Okay. So basically, if you remember, so if you want to find out that what is an iterable, so you can do it two ways. To find if object is iterable or not. So first thing, that if object can have a length function, if a particular object can use a length function over it, then it's an iterable object. Or now do you guys remember?
Yes.
Or dir of that object, we should have what inside it?
Underscore iter.
Yes, underscore iter underscore. If these two conditions are there, then we use something called as for loop. So if the question is when should we use for loop, so if for fixed iteration, so if we know that this iteration will go for only this number of times, so we have to use a for loop. So for fixed iteration, we use a for loop. Okay, so and this everyone knows. Okay, this we have discussed in the last class also. So for I in range, if I write 0 to 10, print I, what will be the output of this?
0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Okay, so 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Now 10 will not be included because 10 is exclusive,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So 10 will not be printed. Okay, so if I execute this, the answer is 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. So this what we have discussed in the list part, no? So everything is same. There is no change. Okay, so in the last class also, in last class only we have discussed about the for loop. Now the thing which you don't know is the while loop. Okay, now if we know the fixed iteration, okay, that okay, for this particular time we have to execute the for loop, then yes, you can use the for loop. But if you don't know that how many times the loop will run, you don't know anything about that, it depends on the use case. So you have to use something called as while loop. So for loop, if we know the condition, if we know the iterations, you have to use the while loop. If we do not know the iterations, now to write a while loop, there are few things that you have to keep in mind for the syntax. The first thing is initialization. The second one is condition check-in. The third one that we have is increment or decrement. So these three things you have to keep in mind whenever you work with a while loop. Okay, so let's take an example of it. So I is equal to 0 while I is less than 10, print I. And then what I will do is I will do I plus equal to 1. So the first part that you can see I equal to 0, that is nothing but this is called as initialization. The second part that you can see inside of while is the condition. This is condition checking. And the last part that you can see is nothing but you are incrementing or decrementing value. So combination of all these three makes a while loop. So if I execute this, can anyone tell me what will be the output of this?
0, 1 to 9.
Output will be 0 to 9. So if I execute it, the output is 0 to 9. Okay. Let's say what will be output of this?
Infinite loop. 0, minus 1, minus 2.
Yes. So it will run into infinite loop because minus 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5 is obviously less than 10, right? So any negative number will be always less than 10. So this will run to infinite loop. And when you execute this kind of statement by mistake, there's a star symbol that keeps on going. Okay, that's exactly what happened with Veena also. Okay, so for this, the only option that we have is we have to stop the kernel. And once you have stopped the kernel, then only you can rectify it and then only you can use it. So this is what you mean by while loops. So any doubts, any queries, please ask. If it's clear, write clear in the chat box. Okay, if it's clear, let's ask them some questions then. So basically what you have to do is that I will give you one string. So the string is Python. And you have to display this particular pattern on the screen. So P. So this is the pattern that you have to print on the screen. So the first thing you have to solve this particular problem first with the for loop. And once you have done with the for loop, then I want you to solve this problem with the while loop. And let's see how many of you have actually understood the for loop and the while loop. Again, if you want to solve any questions, try to understand the algorithm first and then only try to solve it. Okay, so this is a hint. So try to do this with a print statement only, and then try to apply that print statement in the form of for loop or the while loop. All right, so the answer for the first one is so for I in range length of, so let's take a string a is equal to Python and length of a. Now the next thing what you have to do is you have to do print a of I into I plus 1. That's it. And when you execute this, okay, the problem is this. And this is the answer. Anyone needs the explanation for this? Or it's clear to everyone? What about Veena and Gurpreet? Okay, I think Veena and Gurpreet has a doubt. Okay. So whenever you have this kind of problem, so first try to solve this problem with the help of print statement. How? Let's try to see that. Print, and now a of 0. Why of 0? Because we know that we have to execute each and every character. So this is at index 0. Then we have yy. This y is as index 1. This t is at index 2, and so on, right? So if and one more thing you have to notice is, when it's a 0 index, it is multiplied by 1, because this p is repeated only for one time. Similarly, on the same lines, if I write for a equal to 1, it is repeated 2 times. A is equal to 2, it is repeated 3 times. A of 4, it is repeated 5 times. A of 5, and it is repeated 6 times. Okay. Now the same thing you have to convert into the for loop. So if you notice that it is starting from 0 to 5. So this will move from 0 to 5. And if you notice, this is always one more than what you're writing here. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 1, this is 2, this is 2, this is 3. So this is how you have to construct the logic, and this is how you have to do it. So same for the while loop also. The only difference is you have to give the initialization, that is I is equal to 0 while I less than equal to 5. You have to write the same thing. Okay, and you have to just keep on incrementing the value. So I plus equal to 1. Execute it, and this one also will give you the same answer. Okay. The final one. Final question for a day. So the only thing what you have to do is the same thing you have to execute in the reverse order. So this n will be repeated 5 times. Then O will be repeated 4 times. Then H will be repeated 3 times. T will be repeated 2 times. Y and P. Okay, so I will increase everything by 1. So Y 2 times. Okay, so the same thing you have to execute in the reverse order now. So for this one also, if you go for the same logic, so for example, if I write a for loop for this. So again, when you have to solve any problem, first try to understand the algorithm and then try to solve it. So for this also, if I write an algorithm, so if you see, the first one that we are getting is n, and n is nothing but is the last part of a string. So to execute that, so I will write 5, and this will be 6. Now this will be 4, and this will be 5. Now in the previous case, we were incrementing everything. In this case, we are decrementing everything. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the next one that we'll have is the 0. And this, if you notice, again, it's the same thing. So whatever value you're giving here, it is always that. So 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, and 1. Now the same thing you have to convert using a for loop. So what you can do is, for I in range, you have to go in the reverse, right? So we can go till 5, not 5, 6 till 0 from negative, and then we can do print a of 5 minus 1 into I. Execute it and see, you get the answer. The only trick here is that once you get the algorithm, then solving the problem becomes very easy. So that's the only thing that you have to crack out. So if I use the while, so same for the while. So I will execute I is equal to 6 while I is more than equal to 0. Print a of I minus 1 multiplied by I. And for every value, you have to decrement it. So I is equal to I minus 1. Executed. Okay, what is the problem here? So, okay, this is a problem. So you get the answer. So this is how you use a for loop and a while loop.